Most people do not struggle because they have nothing to say. They struggle because they do not know how to say it in a way that others truly hear. A good idea can be lost in a bad delivery. A sincere message can be ignored if the words feel unclear, rushed, or distant. That is why communication matters so much. It shapes trust, it shapes respect, it shapes the way people respond to you in work, family, and daily life. This audiobook is about more than speaking well. It is about learning how people listen, what builds openness, and what causes them to shut down. It is about calm words, clear thinking, steady confidence, and the kind of self-control that keeps your message strong under pressure. You will hear practical lessons that can help you speak with more purpose, listen with more care, and lead with more strength. If you have ever felt misunderstood, overlooked, or unable to express yourself clearly, this journey is for you. Stay with it, because the ideas ahead can change the way you speak and the way people respond to you. Chapter 1. Build trust by listening before you respond. Trust is one of the most valuable things a person can earn, yet many people spend years trying to gain it without understanding where it truly begins. They believe trust grows from speaking with confidence, giving impressive advice, or proving how much they know. They work hard to find the perfect words, hoping those words will convince others to believe in them. But trust rarely begins when you speak. It begins much earlier. It begins when another person feels heard. Every person carries thoughts that are often left unspoken. They carry worries, hopes, disappointments, and dreams that may never be shared unless they feel safe. When someone believes they can speak without being judged, interrupted, or ignored, they naturally become more open. That openness creates connection, and connection becomes the foundation of trust. Before people accept your ideas, they want to know whether you accept them as a person. Many conversations fail not because people disagree, but because neither person truly listens. One person speaks while the other prepares a reply. They wait for their turn instead of paying attention. Their eyes may remain focused, but their mind has already moved ahead. They search for an argument, a correction, or a better story about themselves. The conversation becomes two separate speeches instead of one shared experience. Think about the last time someone gave you their full attention. They did not check their phone. They did not rush you. They did not finish your sentences. They allowed you to express yourself completely. You probably felt respected. You probably felt calmer as you spoke. Even if they did not solve your problem, their attention made a difference. That feeling is something every person wants. It costs nothing to give, yet it has great value. Listening is not passive. It is an active choice. It requires discipline because your mind naturally wants to react. It wants to compare experiences, defend opinions, or explain why you are right. Real listening asks you to pause those habits. It asks you to place another person's words ahead of your own thoughts for a few moments. That simple decision changes the entire quality of a conversation. Many people believe they are good listeners because they remain silent while another person speaks. Silence alone is not listening. A silent mind is different from a silent mouth. Someone may say nothing while secretly judging every sentence they hear. Another person may remain quiet while thinking about tomorrow's schedule. Genuine listening requires your attention, your curiosity, and your willingness to understand before you decide what anything means. When you approach every conversation with curiosity instead of certainty, people notice the difference. Curiosity asks simple questions. What is this person really trying to say? What are they feeling? What experience has led them to this conclusion? Why is this important to them? Those questions slow your reactions and deepen your understanding. There is strength in slowing down. Many people confuse speed with intelligence. They believe quick answers make them appear confident. In reality, thoughtful pauses often communicate greater confidence than immediate responses. A person who listens carefully before speaking demonstrates self-control. They show they are not controlled by emotion or ego. They choose understanding before expression. This habit becomes especially important during difficult conversations. When emotions become strong, the desire to interrupt becomes even stronger. Someone says something unfair, and you immediately want to defend yourself. Someone criticizes your work, and your mind starts building a response before they finish speaking. This reaction feels natural, but it often creates more conflict. Imagine a disagreement between two co-workers. One says, "I feel like you ignored my ideas during the meeting." The other quickly replies, "That is not true. I gave everyone a chance." The conversation immediately becomes an argument about facts. Neither person feels understood. Now imagine a different response. "It sounds like you felt left out during the meeting. I want to understand what made you feel that way." Nothing has been admitted. Nothing has been surrendered. Yet the conversation becomes calmer because one person chose understanding before defense. People become less defensive when they feel understood. This does not mean they always change their opinion, but they become more willing to listen in return. Respect often begins with the first person who chooses patience instead of reaction. Listening also protects you from making false assumptions. Every day people misunderstand each other because they fill missing information with guesses. Someone sends a short message and another person assumes they are angry. A friend cancels plans and someone assumes they no longer care. A manager gives brief feedback and an employee assumes they are failing. Assumptions create unnecessary problems because they replace facts with imagination. Careful listening replaces assumptions with understanding. Instead of deciding what someone means, you ask. Instead of reacting to your first impression, you gather more information. This simple habit prevents countless misunderstandings in families, friendships, and workplaces. Good listeners also recognize the difference between hearing words and understanding emotions. People do not always express themselves clearly. Sometimes fear hides behind anger. Sometimes disappointment sounds like criticism. Sometimes exhaustion appears as impatience. If you focus only on words, you may miss the real message completely. Imagine a parent arriving home after a long day. They raise their voice because the house is noisy. A child may hear only anger. A careful listener notices something deeper. The parent is tired. They feel overwhelmed. Their frustration is not entirely about the noise. Responding to the emotion instead of only the words changes everything. This awareness develops through observation. Notice facial expressions. Notice changes in tone. Notice moments when someone's energy suddenly shifts. These signals often reveal more than spoken words. They help you understand what another person may struggle to express. Listening also requires humility. Humility does not mean believing you know nothing. It means accepting that every person knows something you do not. Every individual has experiences you have never lived. Every conversation offers an opportunity to learn. When you believe you already know everything worth hearing, you stop listening long before the other person finishes speaking. Strong communicators remain lifelong students. They enter conversations expecting to discover something new. Even when speaking with someone much younger or less experienced, they remain open. Wisdom is not measured by how much you speak, but by how willing you are to continue learning. Another important part of listening is resisting the urge to make every conversation about yourself. This habit often appears without bad intentions. Someone shares a difficult experience, and you immediately tell a similar story from your own life. You hope to show understanding, but the focus quietly shifts away from them. There are moments when sharing your experience can help, but timing matters. Before offering your story, allow the other person to fully express theirs. Give them space to finish. Ask another question. Show genuine interest. When people feel complete, they become more interested in hearing your perspective. Patience creates depth. Rushed conversations remain shallow because neither person feels safe enough to explore meaningful thoughts. Deep conversations require time. They require moments of silence. They require attention that cannot be rushed. Many people become uncomfortable with silence. The moment a pause appears, they rush to fill it with more words. Yet silence often serves an important purpose. It gives people time to think. It allows emotions to settle. It creates space for honesty. After someone shares something personal, resist the urge to answer immediately. Allow a brief pause. That pause communicates respect. It shows you are considering their words carefully instead of delivering a prepared response. Often, during those quiet moments, the other person continues speaking and reveals something even more meaningful. Listening also strengthens leadership. People willingly follow leaders who make them feel valued. Employees work harder for managers who genuinely hear their concerns. Children trust parents who listen without immediate judgment. Friends remain loyal to those who offer understanding instead of constant advice. Many leaders believe they must always have answers. In reality, asking thoughtful questions often creates stronger leadership than giving quick solutions. Questions encourage ownership. They invite participation. They show confidence rather than insecurity. Consider how often people simply want someone to understand them before solving the problem. Advice offered too quickly may feel dismissive. Listening first communicates respect. Once people feel heard, they become far more open to guidance. This principle also transforms personal relationships. Strong relationships are built through thousands of small conversations where each person feels seen, respected, and understood. Grand gestures cannot replace daily attention. A few minutes of genuine listening each day often strengthens a relationship more than expensive gifts or impressive words. Listening is also an act of emotional discipline. Stoic wisdom teaches that we cannot control another person's thoughts or actions, but we can control our own response. Choosing to listen before reacting is one of the clearest examples of that principle. Instead of allowing emotion to lead the conversation, you allow reason, patience, and understanding to guide your words. Every conversation gives you a choice. You can seek to prove yourself right, or you can seek to understand. You can interrupt, or you can wait. You can judge, or you can remain curious. These choices seem small in the moment, but repeated over months and years, they shape your reputation. People remember how they felt after speaking with you. They remember whether they felt respected. They remember whether they felt safe enough to be honest. Trust is not earned through one impressive conversation. It grows slowly through consistent actions. Each time you give someone your full attention, each time you pause before responding, and each time you choose understanding over immediate judgment, you add another small piece to that foundation. Over time, those small pieces become something strong enough to support lasting relationships, meaningful influence, and communication that truly changes lives. Chapter 2. Practice clear words that match your honest intention. Words have the power to build confidence, strengthen relationships, solve problems, and create opportunities. The same words can also create confusion, weaken trust, and leave lasting damage when they are spoken without care. The difference is rarely found in the size of a person's vocabulary or their ability to speak for a long time. It is found in whether their words honestly reflect what they truly mean. Powerful communication begins when your speech matches your intention. When your thoughts, values, and words move in the same direction, people notice. They may not always agree with you, but they will recognize your sincerity, and sincerity earns respect. Many people speak with mixed intentions without realizing it. They want to appear confident, so they exaggerate. They want to avoid conflict, so they hide what they really think. They want approval, so they say what they believe others want to hear. These habits may seem harmless in the moment, but they slowly separate a person from their authentic voice. Every time you speak against your own values, you create distance between who you are and who others believe you are. That distance makes communication weaker because people eventually sense inconsistency. Clear communication starts before a single word leaves your mouth. It begins by asking yourself one simple question: what is my real purpose in this conversation? Are you trying to help someone understand? Are you trying to solve a problem? Are you offering encouragement? Are you setting a boundary? Are you expressing appreciation? Knowing your purpose keeps your words focused. Without a clear purpose, conversations often wander into confusion, unnecessary arguments, or emotional reactions that solve nothing. Honesty does not mean speaking every thought that enters your mind. Self-control remains an important part of wise communication. Some thoughts are temporary emotions that disappear after a few minutes. Others are based on assumptions rather than facts. Speaking honestly means expressing what is true after you have taken time to think carefully. Discipline allows honesty to become helpful instead of harmful. Many people confuse bluntness with honesty. They believe that saying something without any filter proves they are genuine. In reality, honesty without kindness often closes hearts instead of opening them. Clear communication is not about saying everything exactly as it appears in your mind. It is about choosing words that communicate truth while respecting the dignity of the person listening. Imagine giving feedback to a coworker who made a mistake. One approach is to say, "You always make everything difficult." Those words create shame and defensiveness. Another approach is to say, "This part of the project needs more attention because it affects the whole team." The second response remains truthful, but it focuses on improvement instead of personal attack. The goal is not to win an argument. The goal is to solve a problem together. Your tone carries as much meaning as your words. A thoughtful sentence spoken with frustration may be heard as criticism. A simple question spoken with patience can encourage openness. People often remember how you made them feel more clearly than the exact sentences you used. Before speaking, pay attention to your emotional state. If anger, fear, or disappointment is controlling your voice, your message may not reach the other person the way you intended. There is wisdom in waiting until your emotions settle before discussing important matters. Strong feelings can narrow your perspective. They encourage quick reactions instead of thoughtful responses. Giving yourself time to breathe, reflect, and organize your thoughts allows your words to represent your values rather than your temporary emotions. Clarity also requires simplicity. Some people believe long explanations make them sound intelligent. They use complicated language, repeat the same idea several times, or include unnecessary details. The result is often confusion rather than understanding. Simple language is not a sign of weakness. It is evidence that you understand your own message well enough to express it clearly. When explaining an idea, ask yourself whether every sentence serves a purpose. Remove words that do not add meaning. Replace vague statements with direct ones. Instead of saying, "Things have been kind of difficult lately," explain what is actually happening. Instead of saying, "Maybe we should think about doing something different," describe the specific change you believe would help. Precision gives people confidence because they know exactly what you mean. Another valuable habit is speaking only after you fully understand your own thoughts. Many conversations become confusing because people think while they speak instead of thinking before they speak. Their ideas change halfway through the sentence. They contradict themselves without noticing. Taking even a brief moment to organize your thoughts creates smoother and more confident communication. Your words should also match your actions. Nothing weakens credibility faster than saying one thing while doing another. If you promise support, be available when someone needs help. If you encourage honesty, welcome truthful feedback even when it is uncomfortable. If you speak about discipline, practice discipline in your daily life. Consistency between speech and behavior creates trust that cannot be achieved through words alone. People pay close attention to patterns. They notice whether your promises become reality. They remember whether your encouragement is supported by your actions. They observe whether your values remain steady during difficult moments. Authentic communication grows stronger each time your behavior confirms what your words have already expressed. Another important part of honest communication is learning to say, "I do not know." Many people fear these words because they worry others will see them as weak or inexperienced. The opposite is often true. Admitting the limits of your knowledge demonstrates confidence, because you are secure enough to value truth over appearance. People trust those who are honest about what they know and equally honest about what they still need to learn. The same principle applies when you make mistakes. Instead of searching for excuses, accept responsibility. A sincere apology often repairs more damage than a long explanation designed to protect your image. Accountability shows maturity. It communicates that your character matters more than your pride. Clear communication also means expressing appreciation whenever it is deserved. Many people think positive thoughts about others, but never speak them aloud. They notice hard work, kindness, loyalty, or improvement, but remain silent. Genuine appreciation strengthens relationships because it reminds people that their efforts are seen and valued. A few honest words of encouragement can stay with someone for years. At the same time, avoid praise that is exaggerated or insincere. Empty compliments lose their meaning because they are disconnected from reality. Instead, recognize specific actions. Tell someone exactly what you appreciate and why it mattered. Specific appreciation feels authentic because it is rooted in observation rather than habit. Honest intention becomes especially important when setting boundaries. Some people avoid difficult conversations because they fear disappointing others. They say yes when they truly mean no. Over time, resentment begins to grow because their actions no longer reflect their real feelings. Respectful boundaries protect both relationships and personal well-being. A clear boundary does not require anger or hostility. It simply communicates your limits with calm confidence. You can decline a request without attacking the other person. You can disagree without disrespect. You can protect your time while remaining considerate. These conversations may feel uncomfortable at first, but they prevent larger problems from developing later. Your intention should also guide your conversations during conflict. Before responding, ask yourself whether your goal is understanding or victory. Winning an argument often comes at the cost of the relationship. Solving the problem benefits everyone involved. When your intention remains focused on resolution instead of personal pride, your language naturally becomes more thoughtful and constructive. Every conversation offers an opportunity to strengthen or weaken your character. Speaking with honesty requires courage because it sometimes means expressing unpopular opinions respectfully. It may require admitting mistakes, asking for help, or standing firm when others pressure you to compromise your values. These moments shape not only your relationships, but also your identity. The Stoic mindset teaches that character is built through daily choices rather than dramatic moments. Communication follows the same principle. Every honest answer, every thoughtful explanation, every respectful disagreement, and every sincere expression of gratitude becomes another step toward becoming someone whose words carry lasting weight. Practice slowing down before important conversations. Think carefully about your purpose. Choose language that reflects both truth and respect. Remove unnecessary words that distract from your message. Speak with confidence that comes from preparation rather than emotion. Listen carefully to how others respond so you can improve your clarity over time. The more your words reflect your genuine intentions, the less energy you will spend maintaining appearances. You will no longer need to remember different versions of the same story or wonder whether people misunderstood what you meant. Your communication will become steady because it is rooted in honesty instead of performance. People are drawn to those who communicate with clarity because clarity creates certainty. They know where they stand. They know your encouragement is real. They know your promises have meaning. They know your advice comes from sincere concern rather than personal gain. This consistency builds influence that grows naturally over time. Powerful communication is not about speaking louder than everyone else or finding impressive phrases. It is about becoming the kind of person whose words reflect integrity, wisdom, and purpose. When your speech is guided by honest intention, every conversation becomes an opportunity to strengthen trust, encourage growth, solve problems, and leave others better than you found them. Over time, your voice becomes more than a way to share ideas. It becomes a reflection of your character, and character is the strongest message anyone can communicate. Chapter 3. Strengthen confidence through calm breathing and steady posture. Confidence is often misunderstood. Many people believe it is something a person is either born with or without. They imagine confident people never feel nervous, never doubt themselves, and never experience fear before speaking in front of others. Reality tells a different story. Even experienced speakers, respected leaders, and successful professionals feel pressure before important conversations. The difference is not the absence of nervousness. The difference is knowing how to remain steady while those feelings are present. Your body and your mind constantly influence each other. When your thoughts become anxious, your breathing often becomes fast and shallow. Your shoulders tighten, your muscles become tense, your voice may lose strength. At the same time, the opposite is also true. When you intentionally slow your breathing and maintain balanced posture, your mind receives signals that encourage calmness. Instead of allowing fear to control your body begins to support a calmer state of mind. This is why confidence should never be viewed only as a mental skill. It is also a physical practice. Every conversation begins before the first word is spoken. The way you breathe, stand, walk, and carry yourself shapes both your own mindset and the first impression others receive. People naturally respond to someone who appears calm, because calmness communicates stability. Breathing is one of the few actions that happens automatically, yet can also be controlled consciously. Most people rarely notice it unless they become exhausted or anxious. During stressful moments, breathing often becomes quick without awareness. This small change affects concentration. Your thoughts become scattered. You rush your words. You may even forget ideas you prepared carefully. Developing awareness of your breathing creates an important advantage. Before entering a meeting, answering a difficult question, or beginning an important conversation, pause for a few moments. Breathe in slowly through your nose. Allow your lungs to fill naturally without forcing the breath. Hold it briefly, then breathe out slowly and completely. Repeat this several times while relaxing your shoulders. This simple habit requires less than a minute, yet it prepares your mind to respond with greater clarity. Slow breathing is not magic. It does not remove every challenge. What it does is create enough space between emotion and action for better decisions to emerge. Instead of reacting automatically, you begin responding intentionally. That small difference changes the direction of many conversations. Your posture also speaks long before your voice does. People form impressions within moments of seeing someone. Slouched shoulders, lowered eyes, and restless movements often suggest uncertainty, even when the person has valuable ideas. Standing upright with relaxed shoulders, balanced feet, and an open posture communicates readiness without saying a single word. Good posture is not about appearing superior, it is about respecting yourself. When you carry yourself with balance, you remind yourself that your presence has value. You are not pretending to be someone else. You are allowing your physical presence to reflect your inner commitment to self-respect. Many people unknowingly make themselves smaller during conversations. They fold their arms tightly, avoid eye contact, or constantly shift their weight from one foot to another. These habits usually develop from nervousness rather than intention. Becoming aware of these behaviors is the first step toward changing them. Practice standing comfortably with both feet firmly on the ground. Keep your shoulders relaxed rather than stiff. Lift your head naturally instead of forcing your chin upward. Allow your hands to rest calmly when they are not being used for natural gestures. None of these actions require dramatic effort. They simply create physical balance that supports emotional balance. Walking also influences confidence. Rushing from place to place often increases mental pressure. A steady pace communicates composure both to yourself and to those around you. There is no need to hurry simply because others appear busy. Purposeful movement reflects control. It shows that your actions are guided by intention rather than panic. Voice quality is closely connected to breathing. When air is restricted, words may become rushed or strained. A calm breathing rhythm supports a steadier voice. Speaking at a measured pace allows your thoughts to remain organized. It also gives listeners enough time to absorb your message. Fast speech often reflects internal pressure rather than enthusiasm. Many people believe speaking quickly makes them sound knowledgeable. In reality, thoughtful pacing often creates greater impact. Important ideas deserve enough time to be understood. A calm speaker does not compete with silence. They use pauses wisely because they trust the value of their message. Physical preparation before important conversations can also improve confidence. If you know you will present an idea, negotiate a decision, or discuss a sensitive topic, avoid arriving at the last possible moment. Give yourself time to settle. Stand quietly. Breathe deeply. Review your purpose. Remind yourself that your goal is not perfection, but clear communication. Confidence grows through preparation more often than through natural talent. People who appear relaxed in public usually spend time preparing in private. They organize their thoughts, anticipate questions, and rehearse important points. Preparation reduces uncertainty because you have already invested effort before the conversation begins. The Stoic approach encourages focusing on what remains within your control. You cannot control how every person reacts. You cannot guarantee agreement or praise. You cannot eliminate every unexpected challenge. What you can control is your breathing, your posture, your preparation, your attitude, and your willingness to remain steady, regardless of the outcome. This mindset removes unnecessary pressure because your success is measured by your effort rather than by another person's opinion. Body awareness becomes especially valuable during moments of criticism. When someone disagrees with you, your body may react before your mind has fully processed the situation. Your jaw tightens, your heartbeat increases, your breathing becomes shorter. Recognizing these signals allows you to interrupt the cycle before emotion takes control. Instead of answering immediately, return your attention to your breath. Take one slow inhale and one complete exhale. Relax your shoulders. Maintain eye contact without appearing aggressive. This brief pause often prevents words you would later regret. It also communicates maturity because people see someone who remains composed under pressure. Daily habits shape confidence far more effectively than occasional moments of motivation. You do not become calm only when important situations appear. You build calmness through consistent practice during ordinary moments. Pay attention to how you breathe while waiting in line, sitting at your desk, or walking outside. Notice your posture while reading, working, or speaking with friends. Small adjustments repeated every day gradually become natural habits. Exercise also supports confident communication. Regular physical activity improves energy, endurance, and body awareness. It reminds you that your body is capable of meeting challenges. You do not need an intense training program to experience these benefits. Walking, stretching, or any consistent movement strengthens both physical and mental resilience. Adequate rest plays an equally important role. A tired mind struggles to remain patient and focused. Poor sleep often increases irritability and makes stressful situations feel larger than they really are. Protecting your rest is not laziness. It is preparation for performing well when communication matters most. Confidence also grows when you stop measuring yourself against others. Comparison creates unnecessary tension because there will always be someone who appears more experienced, more confident, or more accomplished. Your goal is not to imitate another person's style. Your goal is to develop a presence that reflects your own character. Notice what happens when you focus entirely on serving the conversation instead of protecting your image. You become less concerned about whether every sentence sounds impressive. You pay more attention to helping others understand your message. This shift reduces self-consciousness because your attention moves away from yourself and toward the value you are providing. Another powerful practice is becoming comfortable with stillness. Many people feel compelled to fill every moment with movement. They tap their fingers, adjust their clothing repeatedly, or shift constantly while speaking. Calm stillness communicates confidence because it shows you are comfortable occupying the present moment without unnecessary distraction. Eye contact also contributes to steady communication. Looking at someone naturally while they speak demonstrates attention and respect. There is no need to stare intensely. Simply maintain comfortable eye contact, occasionally looking away in a natural manner. This balance helps create connection without making either person uncomfortable. Confidence is strengthened each time you keep a promise to yourself. If you decide to practice your breathing every morning, follow through. If you commit to improving your posture, remain consistent. If you choose to prepare before important conversations, honor that decision. Self-trust develops when your actions repeatedly match your commitments. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to strengthen this trust. A difficult meeting, an unfamiliar audience, or an uncomfortable discussion is not simply a test of communication. It is also a chance to practice remaining calm despite uncertainty. Each experience teaches your mind that you can stay composed even when conditions are imperfect. There will be days when nervousness returns. There will be conversations that do not go as planned. Confidence does not require flawless performance. It requires the willingness to continue improving without becoming discouraged. Each experience adds another layer of wisdom. Each mistake becomes useful when you study it instead of fearing it. People are naturally drawn toward individuals who create a sense of stability. Calm breathing, balanced posture, and thoughtful movement communicate that stability before a single idea is shared. These qualities do not demand attention. They quietly earn respect because they reveal discipline rather than performance. As your body becomes calmer, your thinking becomes clearer. As your posture becomes steadier, your presence becomes stronger. As your breathing becomes slower, your words become more deliberate. Over time, these simple practices transform not only the way others see you, but also the way you see yourself. You begin to trust your ability to handle difficult moments with patience and composure. That quiet confidence becomes part of your character, and it stays with you wherever meaningful communication takes place. Chapter 4. Ask better questions that invite respect and openness. The quality of your conversations is shaped by the quality of your questions. Many people believe communication is mainly about giving the right answers, but meaningful conversations are often guided by thoughtful questions. A well-chosen question can uncover ideas, strengthen relationships, solve misunderstandings, and encourage personal growth. It can also help another person feel respected because it shows genuine interest in their thoughts instead of placing all the attention on your own opinions. Every person wants to feel that their experiences matter. When someone asks a sincere question and patiently waits for the answer, they send a quiet message that says, "Your perspective has value." That simple feeling can transform an ordinary conversation into one that people remember long after it ends. Respect is not always created through agreement. It is often created through curiosity. Many conversations remain shallow because people ask questions that require only short answers. Questions such as, "Did you have a good day?" or "Is everything okay?" are not wrong, but they rarely encourage meaningful discussion. Most people answer them with a single word before the conversation quickly moves somewhere else. If you truly want to understand another person, your questions should invite reflection instead of ending the discussion. Imagine asking a friend, "What was the most meaningful part of your day?" Instead of encouraging a simple response, you invite them to think. They begin searching through their experiences and sharing something that mattered to them. The conversation immediately becomes more personal because your question created space for a deeper answer. The same principle applies in professional settings. A manager who asks, "Why did this project fail?" may unintentionally create fear because people immediately begin protecting themselves. A better question might be, "What can we learn from this experience that will improve our next project?" The second question shifts attention from blame to growth. People become more willing to contribute because they feel invited rather than accused. Questions reveal your mindset. If your questions are filled with judgment, people become cautious. If your questions communicate respect, people become more open. Before asking anything important, consider the emotional effect your words may have. A question should encourage honesty, not create unnecessary pressure. Curiosity is one of the strongest qualities a communicator can develop. Curiosity allows you to replace assumptions with understanding. Instead of believing you already know someone's reasons, you ask them directly. Instead of deciding what they feel, you invite them to explain it themselves. This approach prevents countless misunderstandings because people are given the opportunity to express their own reality. Many disagreements grow larger simply because neither person asks enough questions. They defend positions without fully understanding each other. Imagine two co-workers who disagree about how a task should be completed. One immediately argues for their own method. The other becomes defensive. The discussion quickly turns into competition. Now imagine one person pauses and asks, "What makes you believe this approach will work better?" That single question changes the direction of the conversation. Instead of fighting over opinions, they begin exploring reasons. Powerful questions are never asked as hidden attacks. Some people disguise criticism by placing it inside a question. They ask, "Why would anyone think that was a good idea?" Although the sentence ends with a question mark, it is actually an insult. Questions like these create embarrassment rather than understanding. Honest communication avoids this habit because the goal is to build clarity, not damage confidence. Respectful questions focus on learning instead of proving superiority. They communicate a willingness to listen to answers that may challenge your own thinking. This requires humility because genuine learning becomes impossible when you believe your conclusions can never change. One of the greatest strengths a person can develop is becoming comfortable with not having immediate answers. Asking thoughtful questions demonstrates confidence, not weakness. It shows you value wisdom more than appearance. Strong leaders understand this principle well. They recognize that the best ideas often emerge through discussion rather than command. Parents who ask thoughtful questions help children develop independent thinking. Instead of immediately solving every problem, they encourage reflection. Teachers who ask meaningful questions inspire students to explore ideas more deeply instead of memorizing information without understanding it. Friends who ask caring questions strengthen trust because they create opportunities for honest conversation. Questions also help people understand themselves. Sometimes another person has never stopped to examine their own beliefs until someone gently asks them to explain what they think or why they made a certain decision. Through respectful conversation, people often discover answers they did not realize they already possessed. Timing matters just as much as wording. Even the best question may fail if asked during the wrong moment. A person who is overwhelmed by emotion may first need patience rather than investigation. Waiting until emotions settle often allows for more thoughtful and honest discussion. Wisdom includes recognizing when to ask and when to simply remain present. Another important habit is asking one question at a time. Some people ask several questions without allowing any answer to develop. The other person becomes unsure which point to address first. Simple and focused questions make conversations easier to follow. They allow each idea to receive the attention it deserves. Avoid interrupting after asking something important. Silence may feel uncomfortable, but it often gives people the opportunity to think carefully. Many meaningful responses begin after a few quiet seconds. If you rush to fill every pause, you may prevent the most valuable part of the conversation from ever being spoken. The way you respond to answers also determines whether future conversations remain open. If someone shares an honest opinion and immediately receives criticism, they become less willing to speak openly again. Instead, acknowledge what they have shared before offering your own perspective. This does not require agreement. It simply demonstrates that you have considered their words with fairness. Questions become especially valuable during conflict because they reduce emotional intensity. Instead of saying, "You never understand me," consider asking, "What did you hear me say?" This approach uncovers misunderstanding instead of creating additional frustration. Many disagreements continue simply because people believe they understand each other when they actually do not. Open-ended questions create opportunities for discovery. They encourage explanation rather than simple confirmation. Instead of asking, "Did you enjoy the presentation?" ask, "What part of the presentation stood out most to you?" Instead of asking, "Are you happy with your progress?" ask, "What changes have made the biggest difference for you recently?" These questions invite thoughtful reflection and often reveal valuable insights. Communication also improves when you ask yourself honest questions. Before entering an important conversation, pause and examine your own intentions. What outcome am I hoping for? Am I trying to understand or simply persuade? Have I considered the other person's perspective? Is this the right time to discuss this issue? These private questions strengthen self-awareness and improve the quality of your interactions. The Stoic tradition teaches that wisdom begins with examining ourselves before judging others. Asking yourself difficult questions builds discipline because it prevents careless reactions. Instead of blaming circumstances immediately, consider what responsibility belongs to you. Instead of expecting others to change first, ask how your own communication can become more effective. Questions also encourage growth because they keep your mind active. A person who continues asking meaningful questions throughout life continues learning. Curiosity protects against arrogance because it reminds you that there is always more to understand. Every person you meet has experiences different from your own. Every conversation offers an opportunity to expand your perspective if you remain willing to explore rather than assume. Another valuable practice is expressing appreciation through questions. Asking someone about their work, their goals, or the lessons they have learned communicates respect for their journey. People often feel encouraged when someone takes sincere interest in their efforts. These conversations strengthen relationships because they move beyond routine exchanges and create genuine connection. In leadership, thoughtful questions inspire responsibility. Instead of giving every solution, encourage people to think through challenges themselves. Ask what options they have considered. Ask what obstacles they expect. Ask what resources would help them succeed. This approach develops confidence because people participate in solving problems instead of depending entirely on instructions. Questions also strengthen teamwork. When everyone feels invited to contribute, better ideas often emerge. Some of the quietest people possess valuable insights that remain hidden unless someone creates an opportunity for them to speak. A respectful question can uncover creativity that might otherwise remain unnoticed. Develop the habit of ending important conversations with questions that encourage action. Instead of assuming everything is understood, ask what the next step should be. Ask what support would be helpful. Ask what commitment each person is willing to make moving forward. These questions transform conversation into progress. There will always be moments when you are tempted to speak first and ask later. Resist that habit. A thoughtful question often accomplishes more than a long explanation. It invites participation rather than demanding agreement. It creates cooperation instead of resistance. It allows people to feel respected because their voice becomes part of the conversation. Asking better questions is ultimately an expression of character. It reflects patience, humility, discipline, and genuine concern for others. These qualities cannot be imitated for long because they grow from sincere intention. When your questions come from a desire to understand rather than control, people naturally become more comfortable sharing their thoughts. Over time, this approach changes not only the quality of your conversations, but also the quality of your relationships. People begin to trust that they will be treated with fairness. They know they will be heard before they are judged. They recognize that your interest is real rather than performative. That trust creates openness, and openness creates communication that leads to stronger friendships, healthier families, more effective leadership, and a life guided by wisdom instead of assumption. Every meaningful conversation begins with the courage to ask a question that invites another person to be fully seen, fully heard, and genuinely respected. Chapter 5. Read emotions early and adjust your message kindly. Communication is never shaped by words alone. Every conversation is influenced by emotions that may never be spoken directly. A person may smile while carrying disappointment. Another may answer politely while struggling with worry. Someone may appear calm on the outside while feeling uncertain inside. If you focus only on the sentences people speak, you will often miss the deeper message they are trying to express. Learning to recognize emotions early allows you to communicate with greater wisdom, kindness, and effectiveness. People do not experience every conversation in the same emotional state. One person may begin the day feeling hopeful and energetic. Another may arrive carrying stress from work, concern for a family member, or disappointment from an earlier event. These emotions quietly shape the way people listen, respond, and interpret your words. Understanding this reality helps you avoid unnecessary misunderstandings because you recognize that reactions are often influenced by more than the conversation itself. One of the greatest mistakes in communication is assuming everyone hears your message exactly as you intended it. Your intention matters, but the emotional condition of the listener also plays an important role. A sentence that feels encouraging to one person may sound demanding to another if they are already overwhelmed. A suggestion that seems simple to you may feel discouraging to someone who is struggling with self-doubt. Wise communicators recognize this difference and adapt without sacrificing honesty. This does not mean changing your values or hiding the truth. It means delivering the truth in a way that another person is most likely to receive with understanding. Kindness is not weakness. Kindness is the discipline of considering another person's emotional state while remaining faithful to your purpose. Developing emotional awareness begins with observation. Notice changes in facial expressions. Pay attention to the energy someone brings into the conversation. Listen carefully to the pace of their speech. Observe whether they appear relaxed or restless. Small details often reveal feelings long before someone chooses to describe them directly. A person who usually speaks with enthusiasm but suddenly becomes quiet may be carrying a burden they have not mentioned. Someone who avoids eye contact may be feeling embarrassed or uncertain. Another who answers with unusually short responses may be mentally occupied by something unrelated to your conversation. These observations should never become assumptions, but they should encourage patience and thoughtful curiosity. Instead of immediately continuing with your planned message, allow yourself to consider what the other person may need in that moment. Sometimes they need encouragement before advice. Sometimes they need reassurance before problem solving. Sometimes they simply need a calm conversation without additional pressure. Recognizing these needs creates stronger communication because your words become more relevant to the person standing in front of you. Emotional awareness also requires paying attention to your own feelings. Many conversations become difficult not because another person behaves poorly, but because your own emotions quietly influence your interpretation. Fatigue, frustration, disappointment, or anxiety can change the way you hear ordinary words. Before reacting, ask yourself whether your current emotional state is affecting your judgment. Self-awareness is one of the strongest forms of discipline. It prevents temporary emotions from becoming permanent damage. Instead of speaking immediately when you feel offended, pause and examine your reaction. Is your conclusion based on facts or on the mood you are carrying today? This brief moment of reflection often prevents unnecessary conflict. The Stoic perspective reminds us that we cannot always control what happens around us, but we can control the way we respond. Emotional awareness supports this principle because it creates distance between feeling and action. Rather than allowing emotions to direct your words, you choose responses that reflect your values. Imagine a colleague who replies sharply during a meeting. Your first reaction might be to answer with equal frustration. Instead, consider another possibility. They may be facing pressure you know nothing about. They may have received difficult news earlier in the day. Their behavior may not be acceptable, but understanding the possibility of hidden struggles helps you respond with greater wisdom instead of immediate anger. This approach does not excuse harmful behavior. Respectful communication still requires healthy boundaries. However, responding with kindness often prevents situations from becoming worse. Calmness creates opportunities for solutions that emotional reactions rarely achieve. Children provide a clear example of why emotional awareness matters. A child who becomes unusually difficult may not simply be refusing to cooperate. They may feel tired, confused, frightened, or disappointed. A parent who recognizes the emotion beneath the behavior responds differently than one who focuses only on the behavior itself. Instead of increasing tension, they create an environment where the child feels safe enough to express what is really happening. The same principle applies in adult relationships. People often communicate emotions indirectly because they struggle to express them clearly. Someone who feels unappreciated may become distant rather than saying they need encouragement. Someone who feels overwhelmed may become impatient instead of asking for help. Looking beyond the surface allows you to respond with greater understanding. Adjusting your message kindly also means choosing the right moment. Even valuable advice loses its impact when offered during the wrong time. A person experiencing disappointment may not immediately need solutions. They may first need someone who acknowledges their experience without rushing to fix it. Timing shows emotional intelligence because it respects the natural process people go through before they are ready to receive guidance. Kind communication also involves adjusting the amount of information you provide. Overloading someone with instructions while they are already stressed often creates additional pressure. Instead, focus on the next helpful step. Simplicity creates clarity when emotions are high. Once the situation becomes calmer, further discussion can take place more effectively. Gentle language often produces stronger results than harsh correction. Firmness has its place, especially when important standards must be maintained. But firmness does not require humiliation. A respectful tone allows people to focus on the message instead of defending themselves against unnecessary criticism. Patience is another essential skill. Not everyone processes emotions at the same speed. Some people need time to gather their thoughts before responding. Others express themselves quickly, but require time afterward to reflect. Respecting these differences prevents you from forcing conversations before another person is ready. Learning to recognize emotional patterns also strengthens long-term relationships. Over time, you begin noticing how family members, friends, or co-workers respond during periods of stress, excitement, disappointment, or success. This knowledge helps you communicate more thoughtfully because you understand their tendencies without making unfair assumptions. Trust grows when people realize you pay attention to more than their words. They begin to feel seen rather than merely heard. They recognize that you care about their experience instead of only delivering your own message. This kind of trust cannot be created through impressive speeches. It develops through consistent attention and genuine concern. Emotional awareness also improves teamwork. Every group contains people with different personalities, communication styles, and emotional needs. A successful leader recognizes these differences and adjusts accordingly. Some individuals appreciate direct feedback delivered immediately. Others benefit from private conversations where they can reflect without feeling exposed. Treating everyone exactly the same is not always fairness. True fairness considers individual needs while maintaining equal respect. There will be moments when you misread a situation. No one understands every emotion perfectly. When this happens, remain humble. Instead of pretending certainty, ask respectful questions that invite clarification. Honest curiosity repairs misunderstandings more effectively than confident assumptions. Another valuable habit is observing how your own words affect others. Notice when someone becomes more relaxed after your encouragement. Notice when confusion appears after a certain explanation. Notice when enthusiasm grows because you acknowledged someone's effort. These observations help refine your communication over time. Improvement comes from paying attention rather than repeating the same habits without reflection. Your presence also influences emotional safety. Speaking at a calm pace, maintaining a relaxed expression, and giving someone your full attention create an environment where honest conversation becomes easier. People are more willing to express difficult feelings when they believe they will not be interrupted, dismissed, or judged. Compassion should never replace truth, but truth becomes far more effective when delivered with compassion. Honest conversations often become turning points in people's lives when they feel respected throughout the process. They remember not only what was said, but also how they were treated while hearing it. Daily life offers countless opportunities to practice this skill. Notice the cashier who appears exhausted after serving customers for hours. Recognize the co-worker whose confidence seems lower than usual. Pay attention to the friend whose laughter sounds less genuine than before. These observations do not require dramatic responses. Sometimes a simple expression of patience, encouragement, or appreciation is enough to make someone's day lighter. The discipline of reading emotions early also protects your own peace of mind. Instead of reacting to every difficult interaction personally, you become more capable of separating another person's temporary emotional state from your own worth. This perspective reduces unnecessary resentment and allows you to remain steady even when conversations become challenging. Strong communication is not measured only by how clearly you speak. It is also measured by how wisely you recognize the emotional landscape around you. Every conversation involves more than exchanging information. It involves human beings carrying invisible experiences that deserve thoughtful consideration. As you continue developing this awareness, your words will naturally become more thoughtful, your relationships will grow stronger, and your influence will become more meaningful. People will trust you because they know you communicate with both honesty and compassion. They will feel respected because your message is shaped not only by what you want to say, but also by what they are prepared to receive. Over time, this balance between truth and kindness becomes one of the greatest strengths any communicator can possess, allowing every conversation to become an opportunity to encourage understanding, strengthen connection, and leave people feeling valued rather than diminished. Chapter 6. Speak with purpose so every word adds value. Every conversation leaves something behind. Sometimes it leaves clarity. Sometimes it creates confusion. Sometimes it gives hope, while other times it drains energy. The difference is rarely determined by the number of words that are spoken. It is determined by whether those words have a meaningful purpose. People who communicate with lasting influence do not speak simply because there is silence. They speak because they have something worthwhile to contribute. Their words are guided by intention, shaped by wisdom, and offered with care. Many people develop the habit of speaking without thinking about the value they are adding. They fill quiet moments with unnecessary comments, repeat information that serves no purpose, or speak only to draw attention to themselves. Although these habits may seem harmless, they often weaken communication because listeners begin to separate important ideas from meaningless noise. When every thought is spoken without reflection, truly valuable messages become harder to recognize. Purposeful communication begins with discipline. Before speaking, pause long enough to ask yourself a simple question. Will these words improve this conversation? This brief moment of reflection changes the quality of your communication because it encourages intention instead of impulse. Not every thought deserves to become a sentence. Some thoughts are better left unspoken, while others become stronger after careful consideration. Speaking with purpose does not require long speeches or impressive language. In many situations, a few thoughtful sentences create more impact than several minutes of continuous talking. Clear communication respects the attention of others. It recognizes that people's time is valuable and avoids unnecessary distractions that weaken the main message. Imagine attending a meeting where one person explains an idea with focus and clarity. They present the essential information, answer questions directly, and remain connected to the main objective. Another person spends twice as much time repeating similar points, adding unrelated stories, and drifting away from the original topic. Most people naturally place greater trust in the first speaker because their communication reflects preparation and respect. Purpose also protects conversations from becoming emotional battles. When discussions lose direction, people often begin defending personal opinions instead of solving real problems. Returning to the original purpose keeps everyone focused on what truly matters. If the purpose is understanding, then every sentence should support understanding. If the purpose is making a decision, then every contribution should move the discussion closer to that decision. Your purpose should remain stronger than your desire to impress others. Many people try to sound intelligent by using complicated expressions or speaking far longer than necessary. They hope others will admire their knowledge. True confidence does not depend on appearing impressive. It depends on being genuinely useful. People remember those who help them understand difficult ideas, not those who make simple ideas unnecessarily complicated. Useful communication requires preparation. Before important conversations, spend time organizing your thoughts. Identify the most important message you want another person to remember. If everything seems equally important, your message may become overwhelming. Decide which point deserves the greatest attention and build your conversation around it. This approach creates clarity because listeners know exactly what matters most. Purposeful speakers also recognize the importance of choosing the right amount of information. Giving too little leaves people confused. Giving too much makes it difficult for them to identify what is essential. Balance comes through understanding the needs of your audience rather than satisfying your own desire to say everything you know. Consider how a skilled teacher explains a new concept. They introduce one idea at a time, allowing each point to become clear before moving forward. They do not overwhelm students with unnecessary complexity. They understand that learning happens through steady progress rather than information overload. The same principle applies to everyday communication. Help people absorb your message instead of burying it beneath excessive detail. Speaking with purpose also means avoiding conversations that create unnecessary negativity. Gossip, constant complaints, and careless criticism consume attention without producing meaningful solutions. These habits may provide temporary entertainment, but they rarely improve relationships or circumstances. Over time, people become cautious around individuals whose words consistently create division instead of understanding. This does not mean ignoring problems or pretending difficulties do not exist. Honest communication addresses challenges directly. The difference lies in the intention behind the conversation. Complaining focuses on repeating problems. Purposeful discussion focuses on understanding them and identifying practical ways to move forward. Every word you choose shapes your reputation. People notice whether your conversations consistently encourage progress or simply repeat frustration. They remember whether you bring thoughtful ideas or unnecessary conflict. Character is revealed not only through major decisions, but also through the everyday language you choose. The Stoic tradition teaches the importance of self-control in every area of life, including speech. Self-control is demonstrated each time you choose not to say something that would create unnecessary harm. It appears when you resist the urge to interrupt with opinions that do not contribute. It grows stronger when you recognize that silence is sometimes more valuable than immediate reaction. Restraint should never be confused with fear. Remaining quiet because you are afraid to speak is very different from choosing silence because it serves the conversation better. Wisdom allows you to recognize the difference. There are moments when speaking up is necessary because truth deserves to be heard. There are other moments when listening, observing, or waiting creates greater benefit than adding another opinion. Purposeful communication also requires honesty about your own motives. Ask yourself why you want to say something. Are you trying to help, or are you seeking recognition? Are you contributing to the discussion, or are you trying to prove your superiority? Are your words guided by generosity or by pride? These questions strengthen self-awareness and prevent communication from becoming centered on the ego. Many people underestimate the influence of encouragement. A sincere expression of belief in another person's ability can strengthen confidence during difficult seasons of life. Someone who feels discouraged may continue moving forward because another person chose words that reminded them of their potential. Encouragement becomes powerful when it is specific, genuine, and connected to real effort rather than empty praise. Purposeful speech also includes expressing gratitude whenever it is deserved. Appreciation strengthens relationships because it acknowledges the value others bring into your life. Too often, people assume gratitude is already understood. They believe family members, co-workers, or friends already know they are appreciated. Speaking those words directly creates stronger connections because appreciation becomes visible rather than assumed. At the same time, avoid making promises that you cannot keep. Every promise carries responsibility. Words lose their value when commitments are repeatedly broken. Before giving your word, consider whether you are truly prepared to follow through. Reliable communication builds trust because people know your statements can be believed. Purpose is especially important during moments of success. Achievement often creates opportunities to speak about yourself. While sharing accomplishments has its place, lasting influence comes from using success to encourage others rather than simply seeking admiration. Explain what you learned. Share practical lessons. Offer guidance that helps someone else grow. In this way, your experiences become resources instead of displays. Humility strengthens purposeful communication because it keeps learning at the center of every conversation. No matter how much experience you gain, remain willing to learn from others. Ask thoughtful questions. Welcome constructive feedback. Admit when another person has a better idea. Growth continues only when pride does not block new understanding. Your daily conversations also deserve attention. Purpose is not reserved for formal presentations or important meetings. It appears in ordinary interactions with family members, neighbors, co-workers, and strangers. A brief conversation filled with respect can improve someone's entire day. A thoughtful explanation can prevent confusion. A calm response can reduce unnecessary tension. Small moments repeated consistently shape the quality of your relationships. Develop the habit of reviewing your conversations after they end. Ask yourself whether your words reflected your values. Consider what you communicated well and what could be improved. Did you remain focused on the purpose? Did you speak too quickly or include unnecessary details? Did your message encourage progress? Honest reflection turns everyday experiences into valuable lessons. As your awareness grows, you will begin noticing opportunities where fewer words create greater influence. You will become more comfortable allowing important ideas to stand on their own without unnecessary explanation. Confidence grows because you trust the strength of your message rather than relying on constant repetition. People naturally respect communicators whose words consistently bring clarity, encouragement, practical insight, and thoughtful direction. They know conversations with such people will not waste time or create confusion. Instead, they expect value because experience has taught them that every sentence carries intention. The goal is not to become silent or overly cautious. The goal is to become deliberate. Deliberate communication reflects maturity because it balances honesty with wisdom, confidence with humility, and clarity with compassion. It recognizes that every conversation is an opportunity to influence another person's thinking, emotions, or decisions. When you begin speaking with purpose, your communication becomes more than the exchange of information. It becomes a reflection of your character. People start recognizing that your words have weight because they are chosen carefully. They understand that when you speak, you have considered the needs of those listening. Over time, this consistency creates credibility that cannot be manufactured through performance alone. A meaningful life is built one decision at a time, and meaningful communication is built one sentence at a time. Every thoughtful word has the potential to encourage someone who feels uncertain, guide someone facing confusion, strengthen a relationship that needs attention, or inspire action where hesitation once existed. Choose your words with care, not because speaking is difficult, but because every conversation is an opportunity to leave another person wiser, stronger, calmer, or more hopeful than they were before they met you. That is the lasting power of speaking with purpose, and it is a habit that continues to enrich both your own life and the lives of everyone who hears your voice. Chapter 7. Handle disagreement with patience and firm self-control. Disagreement is a natural part of life. No matter how thoughtful, experienced, or kind you are, there will always be moments when another person sees the world differently. Different backgrounds, values, priorities, and experiences shape the way people think. Expecting complete agreement from everyone is unrealistic. The true measure of your communication is not how you behave when people support your ideas. It is how you conduct yourself when your opinions are challenged. Many conversations become destructive because people treat disagreement as a personal attack instead of an exchange of different perspectives. The moment another person expresses an opposing view, emotions begin to rise, voices become louder, listening disappears. The desire to understand is replaced by the desire to win. At that point, communication no longer serves its purpose. It becomes a contest where each side tries to protect pride instead of seeking wisdom. Patience changes the direction of these moments. Patience is not weakness, hesitation, or fear. It is the strength to remain steady when emotions invite you to react quickly. It gives your mind enough time to separate facts from feelings. Instead of allowing the first emotional response to control your words, patience creates space for thoughtful decisions. Self-control is equally important. Every person has moments when they feel misunderstood, criticized, or unfairly judged. These experiences naturally create emotional pressure. The question is not whether these feelings will appear. The question is whether you will allow them to determine your behavior. Character is revealed by your response, not by the circumstances you face. The Stoic way of thinking teaches that your greatest responsibility is not controlling other people but governing yourself. You cannot decide how someone else speaks to you, what opinions they hold, or how they interpret your actions. You can decide how you respond. This understanding is deeply freeing because it shifts your attention toward the one area where real influence exists. When disagreement begins, resist the urge to answer immediately. Many people believe the fastest response is the strongest one. In reality, thoughtful restraint often demonstrates greater confidence. A brief pause allows you to organize your thoughts instead of speaking from frustration. It also communicates that you are taking the conversation seriously rather than reacting impulsively. Imagine a situation where a coworker publicly criticizes your idea during an important meeting. Your first instinct may be to defend yourself without hesitation. Instead, take a moment to gather your thoughts. Ask them to explain their concern more fully. Listen carefully to the details before deciding how to respond. You may discover that part of their criticism contains useful information that improves your original idea. Even if you ultimately disagree, your response will be calmer, more balanced, and more persuasive because it is built on understanding rather than emotion. One of the greatest mistakes people make during disagreement is assuming that opposing opinions automatically represent disrespect. Someone can disagree with your conclusion while still respecting you as a person. Learning to separate ideas from identity prevents unnecessary conflict. Your worth is not determined by whether someone accepts your viewpoint. This mindset also allows you to examine criticism honestly. Not every criticism is fair, but not every criticism is false. Sometimes difficult feedback reveals weaknesses that friends may hesitate to mention. Instead of rejecting criticism immediately, examine it carefully. Ask yourself whether there is any truth you can use for improvement. Even imperfect criticism may contain valuable lessons. Humility plays an essential role during disagreement. Humility does not require abandoning your convictions. It means accepting that your understanding is never complete. Every person has limited knowledge. Every person has blind spots. Remaining open to learning protects you from becoming trapped by pride. Strong communicators do not fear changing their minds when new evidence appears. They recognize that growth requires flexibility. Holding firmly to truth is admirable. Holding stubbornly to mistakes simply because they are familiar limits personal development. Wisdom grows when you value accuracy more than being proven right. There will be moments when another person speaks with anger or disrespect. These situations test your discipline more than comfortable conversations ever could. It is easy to remain calm when everyone agrees. Remaining composed when someone raises their voice requires genuine inner strength. Avoid matching another person's emotional intensity. Anger often invites more anger, creating a cycle that becomes increasingly difficult to stop. Calmness, on the other hand, often lowers emotional pressure because it introduces stability into the conversation. You cannot guarantee the other person will become calm, but you prevent yourself from adding unnecessary fuel to the situation. Firm self-control also means recognizing when a conversation is no longer productive. Some discussions reach a point where emotions prevent meaningful progress. Continuing to argue rarely produces better results. Choosing to pause the conversation until both people can think more clearly is not avoidance. It is responsible communication. Healthy boundaries remain important during disagreement. Patience does not require accepting insults, manipulation, or repeated disrespect. You can remain courteous while refusing to participate in harmful behavior. Calmly ending an unproductive conversation often demonstrates greater strength than continuing an argument that benefits no one. Words chosen during conflict carry lasting influence. Harsh statements spoken in moments of anger are difficult to erase. Even sincere apologies cannot remove every memory created by careless speech. This is why disciplined communication requires careful attention during emotional moments. Ask yourself whether the words you are about to speak will solve the problem or simply express temporary frustration. Respectful disagreement focuses on ideas instead of attacking character. Saying, "I see this situation differently because of these reasons," invites discussion. Saying, "You always think this way because you never understand anything," creates personal conflict. The first approach encourages reasoning. The second encourages defensiveness. Learning to ask for clarification can also prevent unnecessary disagreements. Sometimes conflict begins because two people assign different meanings to the same words. Before assuming negative intentions, ask what the other person meant. Simple clarification often resolves misunderstandings that might otherwise grow into larger problems. Another valuable practice is acknowledging areas of agreement before discussing differences. Even during significant disagreements, there are often shared goals or common values. Recognizing these points creates a foundation for respectful discussion. It reminds both people that they are working toward understanding rather than treating each other as enemies. Patience also requires accepting that not every disagreement will end with complete agreement. Some differences remain because people hold deeply rooted beliefs or priorities. Maturity allows you to respect another person's dignity even when your opinions continue to differ. Winning every argument is neither possible nor necessary for living a meaningful life. Family relationships often provide daily opportunities to practice this principle. Different generations may approach problems differently. Friends may make choices you would never make yourself. Co-workers may prefer methods that seem less effective from your perspective. Instead of becoming frustrated by every difference, approach these situations with curiosity and composure. Ask yourself what you can learn before deciding what you will teach. Leaders especially benefit from emotional discipline during disagreement. Teams observe how leaders respond under pressure. A leader who remains fair, calm, and respectful during difficult conversations creates an atmosphere of trust. People become more willing to share honest opinions because they know disagreement will not be punished with anger or humiliation. Parents also influence children through their response to conflict. Children learn communication not only from instructions, but from observation. When they see adults handling disagreements with patience, respect, and self-control, they begin developing those same habits. Every calm conversation becomes an example more powerful than any lecture. Forgiveness also deserves attention when discussing disagreement. Holding on to resentment after conflict often creates greater suffering than the original disagreement itself. Forgiveness does not require forgetting what happened or removing appropriate boundaries. It means releasing the desire to remain controlled by past anger. This decision protects your own peace of mind and allows emotional healing to begin. Daily reflection strengthens your ability to handle future disagreements. After a difficult conversation, spend time reviewing your response honestly. Consider what you handled well and where improvement is needed. Did you remain focused on the issue? Did your emotions influence your judgment? Were your words respectful, even when the conversation became difficult? Honest reflection transforms experience into wisdom. Another practical habit is preparing yourself mentally before entering situations where disagreement is likely. Expect differences without fearing them. Remind yourself that another person's opinion cannot diminish your character. Your responsibility is to act with integrity, regardless of how others behave. This preparation reduces surprise and allows you to respond with greater confidence. The discipline required for respectful disagreement is built gradually. It develops through ordinary conversations, small frustrations, and daily choices. Every time you remain calm, instead of reacting impulsively, your self-control becomes stronger. Every time you choose fairness over pride, your character grows. These small victories prepare you for greater challenges in the future. People naturally trust those who remain steady during disagreement. They know conversations with such individuals will remain respectful, even when opinions differ. This trust creates opportunities for honest discussion because people feel safe expressing different perspectives without fear of unnecessary hostility. True confidence is not measured by how loudly you defend your beliefs. It is measured by your ability to protect your principles without losing your composure. Strength does not require aggression. Wisdom does not require domination. Lasting influence comes from consistency, discipline, and the ability to remain guided by reason when emotions attempt to take control. Every disagreement presents a choice. You can protect your ego, or you can protect your character. You can seek victory at any cost, or you can seek understanding with integrity. One path creates temporary satisfaction, followed by lasting division. The other builds respect, strengthens relationships, and develops the inner discipline that serves you throughout every area of life. As you continue practicing patience and firm self-control, disagreements will no longer feel like battles that must be won. They will become opportunities to strengthen wisdom, deepen emotional resilience, and communicate with a level of maturity that earns lasting respect. In every difficult conversation, remember that your greatest achievement is not changing another person's opinion. Your greatest achievement is remaining faithful to your values while treating every person with fairness, dignity, and unwavering self-control. Chapter 8. Turn silence into space for thoughtful understanding. Silence is often misunderstood. Many people see it as an empty space that must be filled as quickly as possible. The moment a conversation becomes quiet, they begin searching for something to say. They worry that a pause will make them appear uncertain, awkward, or unprepared. As a result, they speak before they have fully considered their thoughts, interrupt meaningful reflection, and miss opportunities to understand what is truly happening. Yet silence is not the absence of communication. When used wisely, it becomes one of the strongest tools a communicator can possess. Every meaningful conversation contains moments that deserve quiet attention. After someone shares a personal struggle, silence allows their words to settle. After an important question is asked, silence gives the other person time to think, instead of feeling pressured to answer immediately. After a difficult truth is spoken, silence creates room for acceptance and reflection. These moments cannot be rushed without reducing their value. Many people believe influence comes from speaking more than everyone else. In reality, those who leave lasting impressions often understand the importance of thoughtful restraint. They recognize that every conversation does not require immediate answers. They understand that wisdom grows when people are given time to think, rather than being pushed toward quick conclusions. There is a significant difference between uncomfortable silence and purposeful silence. Uncomfortable silence appears when people become disconnected or uncertain about what to say next. Purposeful silence, however, is chosen with intention. It communicates patience, confidence, and respect. It tells the other person that their words deserve careful consideration rather than instant reaction. One reason people avoid silence is because it forces them to become present. Continuous talking can become a way of escaping deeper thought. When the conversation becomes quiet, hidden emotions, unanswered questions, and unresolved concerns often rise to the surface. Facing these realities requires courage. Speaking constantly may delay self-reflection, but it cannot replace it. Silence also reveals how disciplined your mind has become. If you become restless the moment nothing is being said, It may be a sign that your attention depends too heavily on constant stimulation. Learning to remain comfortable during quiet moments strengthens your ability to think clearly without becoming distracted by the need for immediate activity. In daily conversations, silence often encourages honesty. Many people begin sharing their deepest thoughts only after a pause. They speak the obvious facts first, then stop. If you remain patient instead of interrupting, they frequently continue speaking and reveal what truly matters. That second part of the conversation often contains the greatest insight because it comes after they have gathered the courage to express something meaningful. Imagine a close friend describing a difficult experience. After finishing their sentence, they become quiet for several seconds. If you immediately begin offering advice, you may interrupt thoughts they were still preparing to share. If you allow the silence to remain, they may continue by expressing fears, hopes, or concerns they had not yet found the words to describe. Your patience gives their honesty room to grow. Silence also improves decision-making. Important choices deserve thoughtful reflection rather than rushed conclusions. Whether deciding on a career change, resolving a family matter, or responding to criticism, giving yourself time to think protects you from emotional reactions that may later become regrets. Many mistakes occur because people feel pressure to answer immediately. They believe every question demands an instant response. In reality, saying, "I would like a little time to think about this," often demonstrates maturity rather than uncertainty. It shows respect for the importance of the decision and confidence in the value of careful consideration. The Stoic philosophy places great importance on governing your inner life before attempting to influence external events. Silence supports this discipline because it creates opportunities to observe your own thoughts without becoming controlled by them. During quiet moments, you begin noticing emotional reactions, personal assumptions, and habitual patterns that usually remain hidden beneath constant activity. This self-observation strengthens communication because it helps you recognize the difference between facts and interpretations. A careless comment from another person may immediately trigger frustration. Silence gives you an opportunity to examine whether that frustration is justified or whether it has been shaped by past experiences, personal expectations, or temporary emotions. Instead of reacting automatically, you respond with greater wisdom. Silence also protects relationships by reducing unnecessary conflict. Many disagreements become larger simply because people continue speaking after their most important point has already been made. They repeat themselves, introduce unrelated issues, or add emotional statements that increase tension. Knowing when to stop speaking prevents conversations from becoming more complicated than they need to be. Another benefit of silence is that it encourages observation. When you are not focused on preparing your next sentence, you begin noticing details that might otherwise be overlooked. You become aware of changes in someone's expression, moments of hesitation, or shifts in energy that provide valuable insight into the conversation. Observation becomes easier when your attention is not occupied by constant speaking. Silence is equally valuable during learning. Many people attend meetings, classes, or discussions with the intention of sharing their own ideas as quickly as possible. They listen only enough to prepare a response. A different approach produces greater growth. Listen carefully, remain quiet long enough to absorb new information, and allow your understanding to develop before adding your perspective. Learning becomes deeper when reflection follows listening. In professional environments, thoughtful silence often communicates confidence. A leader who remains calm while considering important decisions creates trust because people recognize deliberate thinking rather than impulsive judgment. Employees often feel more secure when they know decisions are made through careful consideration instead of emotional reaction. Parents can also use silence wisely. When children make mistakes, immediate lectures are not always the most effective response. Sometimes asking a thoughtful question and allowing quiet reflection encourages greater personal responsibility. Children often recognize their own mistakes more clearly when given space to think instead of receiving constant instruction. Silence strengthens creativity as well. New ideas rarely appear when your attention is divided among endless conversations, notifications, and distractions. Quiet moments allow your mind to connect ideas, solve problems, and notice possibilities that remain hidden during constant activity. Many creative solutions emerge not through pressure, but through calm reflection. Another valuable practice is beginning each day with a few minutes of intentional silence. Before reading messages, checking news, or starting work, sit quietly and prepare your mind for the day ahead. Consider your priorities. Reflect on the person you want to become. This simple habit creates emotional balance before the demands of the day begin influencing your attention. Ending the day with silence is equally valuable. Spend time reviewing your actions without harsh self-judgment. Ask yourself what conversations strengthened your relationships and which ones could have been handled differently. Notice moments where patience served you well and moments where greater discipline would have improved the outcome. This daily reflection gradually strengthens character because every experience becomes a lesson. Silence also helps you appreciate the value of words. When speaking becomes less frequent, each sentence naturally receives greater care. You begin choosing language with greater precision because you are no longer speaking simply to avoid quiet moments. Your words become more meaningful because they emerge from reflection rather than habit. There will be situations where silence is misunderstood. Some people may expect immediate answers or constant conversation. Purposeful silence should never become avoidance or emotional distance. The goal is not to withdraw from communication, but to improve its quality. When necessary, explain that you are taking time to think carefully rather than ignoring the conversation. Honest explanation prevents confusion while preserving the benefits of reflection. Learning to remain comfortable with silence also strengthens emotional resilience. Many uncomfortable situations lose their power when you no longer feel pressured to fill every quiet moment. You become more relaxed during interviews, presentations, negotiations, and personal conversations because you recognize that brief pauses are natural. They allow both you and others to think more clearly. Another important lesson is understanding that silence communicates respect. Interrupting someone repeatedly suggests that your thoughts are more important than theirs. Allowing pauses demonstrates patience. It shows that you value understanding more than control. This quiet respect often strengthens trust more effectively than long speeches. As your relationship with silence changes, your relationship with yourself also begins to change. You become less dependent on external noise and more familiar with your own thinking. Decisions become steadier because they are guided by reflection rather than pressure. Conversations become richer because they include moments where understanding is allowed to grow naturally. People often remember how they felt after speaking with someone who respected silence. They recall feeling heard, valued, and understood because they were given the time to express themselves completely. That experience creates trust, and trust forms the foundation of meaningful communication. Every quiet moment offers a choice. You can rush to fill it with unnecessary words, or you can allow it to become a place where clarity develops. One path creates noise, the other creates understanding. As you continue choosing thoughtful silence, your communication becomes calmer, your judgment becomes stronger, and your presence becomes more reassuring to those around you. The greatest communicators are not defined by how much they say, but by how wisely they balance speech with reflection. They understand that silence is not an empty interruption between conversations. It is an active part of communication itself. It allows truth to settle, emotions to calm, ideas to mature, and relationships to deepen. When you learn to value silence instead of fearing it, you discover that some of the most important conversations in life are strengthened not by speaking more, but by creating enough quiet space for genuine understanding to emerge. Chapter 9. Build daily habits that improve your communication skills. Communication is not transformed by a single inspiring conversation or one powerful lesson. It improves through small actions repeated day after day until they become part of your character. Many people search for quick techniques that promise immediate results. They hope one book, One speech, or one conversation will suddenly make them confident communicators. Lasting improvement follows a different path. It is built through daily habits that quietly strengthen your ability to express yourself with clarity, confidence, wisdom, and consistency. Every meaningful skill grows through repetition. A musician practices simple exercises before performing difficult pieces. An athlete develops strength through regular training rather than occasional effort. Communication follows the same principle. Every conversation is an opportunity to practice habits that gradually shape the way you think, speak, and connect with others. Small improvements may seem insignificant in a single day, but over months and years, they produce remarkable change. The first habit is beginning each morning with a clear intention for how you want to communicate. Before your day becomes busy, spend a few quiet moments deciding what kind of person you want to be in every conversation. You may choose to be patient during difficult discussions, encouraging toward those who need support, direct without becoming harsh, or calm under pressure. This simple practice gives direction to your words before challenges begin influencing your emotions. Your mindset at the beginning of the day often affects every conversation that follows. When you prepare your attitude intentionally, you become less likely to react carelessly during unexpected situations. Instead of allowing circumstances to determine your behavior, you carry your values into each interaction. Reading every day is another habit that strengthens communication. Good books expose you to thoughtful ideas, practical wisdom, and different ways of expressing complex subjects with simplicity. Reading expands your understanding of people, leadership, relationships, and personal growth. As your knowledge grows, your conversations naturally become more meaningful because you have more valuable insights to share. Reading alone is not enough. Spend time reflecting on what you learn. Ask yourself how new ideas apply to your own experiences. Consider how they might help someone else facing similar challenges. Reflection turns information into understanding, and understanding gives your words greater depth. Writing is another powerful daily practice. Keeping a journal allows you to organize your thoughts before expressing them to others. Many people struggle to communicate clearly because their thinking lacks structure. Writing teaches you to arrange ideas logically, identify what truly matters, and remove unnecessary distractions. Over time, this discipline makes spoken communication clearer because your mind becomes more organized. You do not need to write long pages every day. Even a few thoughtful paragraphs about your experiences, lessons learned, or goals can strengthen your ability to express yourself with confidence. Writing also reveals patterns in your thinking that might otherwise remain unnoticed. It helps you recognize emotional reactions, recurring challenges, and areas where personal growth is needed. Another valuable habit is expanding your vocabulary through practical learning rather than memorization. The goal is not to use complicated language. The goal is to find precise words that accurately express your ideas. When your vocabulary becomes richer, you gain greater flexibility in explaining thoughts, encouraging others, and solving misunderstandings. Observation should also become part of your daily routine. Pay attention to skilled communicators wherever you encounter them. Notice how they explain ideas, respond to questions, and create understanding. Observe how they remain composed during pressure and how they make others feel respected. Learning through observation allows you to improve naturally because you recognize effective habits in action. Conversations with strangers provide valuable opportunities for growth. Simple interactions with neighbors, store employees, co-workers, or people you meet during daily activities help develop confidence without requiring formal situations. Practice greeting people warmly, expressing appreciation sincerely, and speaking with genuine interest. These ordinary moments gradually remove unnecessary fear from communication. Another important habit is asking yourself each evening what you learned from the conversations you had during the day. Consider where you communicated well and where improvement is possible. Did you explain your ideas clearly? Did you remain respectful under pressure? Did you miss opportunities to encourage someone? Honest evaluation creates steady progress because every experience becomes a lesson instead of simply another memory. The Stoic tradition emphasizes continuous self-examination. Growth begins when you become willing to evaluate yourself honestly without becoming discouraged. Every mistake becomes useful when it teaches you how to improve tomorrow. Instead of criticizing yourself harshly, focus on identifying one specific habit you can strengthen during your next conversation. Building communication skills also requires caring for your physical well-being. A healthy body supports a focused mind. Regular movement increases energy and mental clarity. Proper nutrition helps maintain steady concentration. Adequate sleep improves patience, memory, and emotional balance. Communication is influenced by your overall condition more than many people realize. When your body is exhausted, your attention becomes weaker, your emotions become less stable, and your ability to think clearly often decreases. Managing your attention is another essential habit. Modern life constantly competes for your focus through notifications, messages, and endless streams of information. If your attention is always divided, your conversations will suffer. Practice giving complete attention to the person in front of you. Put away unnecessary distractions during important discussions. This simple habit communicates respect and strengthens understanding because your mind remains fully present. Daily gratitude also improves communication. Taking time each day to recognize people who have helped, encouraged, or supported you changes the way you interact with others. Gratitude reduces unnecessary negativity and increases your awareness of positive qualities in those around you. This mindset naturally influences your conversations because appreciation becomes easier to express sincerely. Develop the habit of learning people's names and remembering important details about their lives. Remembering someone's interests, goals, or recent experiences demonstrates genuine care. People feel valued when they realize you paid attention during previous conversations. These small acts strengthen relationships because they show consistent interest rather than temporary politeness. Reading aloud for a few minutes each day can also strengthen communication. This simple exercise improves pronunciation, pacing, and confidence. It helps you become more aware of your voice and allows you to practice speaking with clarity even when no audience is present. Over time, you become more comfortable expressing ideas naturally because your speech grows smoother through regular practice. Another useful habit is recording yourself speaking occasionally. Listening to your own voice may feel uncomfortable at first, but it provides valuable insight. You may notice habits such as speaking too quickly, using unnecessary filler words, or allowing your voice to become unclear during important points. Observing yourself objectively creates opportunities for steady improvement. Seeking constructive feedback is another mark of maturity. Ask trusted friends, mentors, or colleagues how your communication affects them. Invite honest suggestions rather than expecting only praise. Others often notice habits that remain invisible to us. Accepting feedback with humility accelerates growth because it expands your awareness beyond your own perspective. Develop emotional discipline through daily practice. Small frustrations provide opportunities to strengthen patience before larger challenges appear. Delays, misunderstandings, or unexpected changes become chances to practice calm responses. Every ordinary difficulty becomes preparation for more important conversations in the future. Reading biographies of respected leaders, educators, and thinkers can also improve communication. Notice not only what they accomplished, but how they interacted with people during difficult moments. Their examples reveal practical lessons about courage, humility, perseverance, and thoughtful leadership that remain relevant today. Another habit that strengthens communication is becoming comfortable with thoughtful preparation. Before important meetings, presentations, or conversations, spend time organizing your ideas. Think about the questions that may arise. Consider the needs of the people listening. Preparation reduces unnecessary anxiety because you enter the conversation with clarity instead of uncertainty. Generosity should also become part of your communication habits. Look for opportunities to share useful knowledge, encourage someone's progress, or celebrate another person's success without expecting recognition in return. Communication becomes more meaningful when your focus shifts from gaining attention to creating value for others. Protect your integrity in everyday speech. Avoid exaggeration, empty promises, and careless gossip. Each time your words consistently reflect truth and responsibility, your credibility grows stronger. Trust is built through hundreds of small moments where people discover they can depend on what you say. Celebrate progress without becoming satisfied too soon. Communication is a lifelong skill that continues developing through every stage of life. New relationships, different responsibilities, and changing circumstances constantly create fresh opportunities for learning. Maintain the attitude of a student regardless of your experience. Surround yourself with people who encourage thoughtful conversation. Time spent with individuals who value honesty, learning, and personal growth naturally raises the quality of your own communication. Their questions, insights, and examples become daily opportunities for improvement. Most importantly, remain consistent. Extraordinary communication is rarely created through extraordinary effort performed once. It is created through ordinary habits practiced faithfully over time. Some days your progress will feel obvious. Other days improvement may seem slow. Continue anyway. Every small habit strengthens the foundation upon which greater confidence and wisdom are built. One meaningful conversation can encourage someone to keep moving forward during a difficult season. One thoughtful explanation can prevent confusion. One sincere expression of appreciation can strengthen a relationship for years. These moments do not happen by accident. They are the natural result of daily habits that prepare you to communicate with clarity, kindness, discipline, and purpose. As these habits become part of your life, communication will no longer feel like a skill you must consciously perform. It will become a natural expression of your character. Your words will carry greater confidence because they are supported by preparation. Your ideas will become clearer because your thinking has grown more organized. Your relationships will deepen because people recognize consistency, reliability, and genuine respect in every conversation. Daily habits may appear ordinary, but they quietly shape extraordinary results. Every page you read, every reflection you write, every thoughtful conversation you have, every lesson you apply, and every effort you make to improve becomes another step toward becoming a communicator whose presence brings clarity, encouragement, wisdom, and lasting value to everyone fortunate enough to hear your voice. Chapter 10. Lead others by speaking with courage and care. Leadership begins long before a person receives a title, manages a team, or stands before a large audience. It begins the moment someone chooses to use their words to guide, encourage, and strengthen another human being. Every day, people influence the lives of family members, friends, co-workers, neighbors, and even strangers through ordinary conversations. Many never realize the impact they have because leadership is often quieter than people imagine. It grows through consistent character, thoughtful communication, and the willingness to help others become better without seeking attention for yourself. Many people believe leadership belongs only to those with authority. They assume influence comes from position, wealth, or public recognition. While these things may provide opportunities to lead, they do not guarantee meaningful influence. History has shown countless examples of individuals with impressive titles who failed to earn lasting respect because their words lacked honesty, compassion, or integrity. At the same time, ordinary people with no official authority have changed lives simply because they spoke with wisdom, courage, and genuine care. Every conversation gives you an opportunity to become that kind of leader. Leadership is not measured by how many people follow you. It is measured by how many people become stronger because of your presence. When someone leaves a conversation with greater confidence, clearer direction, or renewed determination, your words have served a meaningful purpose. Courage is an essential part of this responsibility. There will be moments when remaining silent feels easier than speaking the truth. You may notice someone making a decision that will likely lead to unnecessary difficulty. You may witness unfair treatment that deserves respectful correction. You may recognize potential in another person that they cannot yet see in themselves. These moments require courage because speaking honestly often carries risk. Some people may disagree with you, others may misunderstand your intentions. Yet leadership requires choosing what is right over what is comfortable. Courage does not mean becoming loud, forceful, or aggressive. It means remaining faithful to your values, even when doing so feels difficult. A calm voice supported by integrity often carries greater influence than emotional intensity. People remember those who stand firmly for truth without abandoning kindness. Care is equally important. Courage without care can become harsh. Care without courage can become passive. Meaningful leadership combines both qualities. It speaks honestly while protecting the dignity of others. It offers correction without humiliation. It provides guidance without controlling another person's choices. This balance allows people to feel respected even when they receive difficult feedback. Every leader eventually faces conversations that require difficult honesty. Avoiding these moments may seem compassionate in the short term, but silence can allow problems to grow. A friend may continue making harmful choices because no one cared enough to speak honestly. A co-worker may never improve because constructive guidance was withheld. A family member may continue carrying unnecessary burdens because no one encouraged them to ask for help. The way difficult truths are delivered determines whether they become opportunities for growth or sources of unnecessary pain. Begin with genuine concern. Focus on the issue rather than attacking the person's character. Explain your observations clearly. Offer practical suggestions rather than vague criticism. Most importantly, communicate your belief that improvement is possible. People are far more willing to accept correction when they know it comes from sincere care rather than personal judgment. Encouragement is one of the greatest gifts a leader can offer. Every person experiences moments of uncertainty. Even capable individuals sometimes question their abilities after failure or disappointment. During these seasons, a few sincere words can restore confidence that seemed lost. Encouragement does not ignore reality. It reminds people that present difficulties do not define their future. Notice the effort others invest, not only the results they achieve. Someone working faithfully toward improvement deserves recognition even before success becomes visible. Acknowledging persistence strengthens motivation because it reminds people that growth is already taking place. Genuine encouragement focuses on progress rather than perfection. Leadership also requires consistency. Inspiring words lose their strength if they are disconnected from daily actions. People observe behavior more closely than many realize. They notice whether your actions support the principles you speak about. They watch how you respond under pressure, how you treat people who cannot benefit you, and how you handle mistakes. Every action either strengthens or weakens the credibility of your message. The Stoic perspective teaches that character is built through disciplined choices repeated over time. This principle applies directly to leadership. Your influence grows because people repeatedly experience fairness, honesty, patience, and responsibility in your conduct. Trust develops gradually as others discover that your values remain steady regardless of changing circumstances. Another important responsibility of leadership is creating hope without creating false expectations. Honest leaders do not promise easy success or guarantee perfect outcomes. Instead, they remind people that effort, resilience, and wise decisions increase the possibility of meaningful progress. Hope rooted in reality becomes far more powerful than unrealistic optimism because it prepares people to remain determined even when challenges continue. Leaders also know when to celebrate others instead of themselves. Many opportunities arise where recognition could easily be directed toward your own accomplishments. Choosing instead to acknowledge the contributions of others builds loyalty and strengthens relationships. People naturally respect leaders who sincerely enjoy seeing others succeed. Humility protects leadership from becoming centered on ego. No individual possesses every answer. No one avoids mistakes completely. Strong leaders admit when they need advice, welcome better ideas regardless of their source, and remain willing to learn throughout life. This attitude encourages open communication because people feel safe contributing their own insights. Teaching is another important form of leadership. Sharing knowledge allows your experiences to benefit someone else's journey. Explain practical lessons clearly. Describe mistakes honestly. Offer guidance that others can apply in their own circumstances. Teaching becomes especially effective when it combines wisdom with genuine concern for another person's growth. At the same time, avoid creating dependence. The purpose of leadership is not to make people rely on you forever. The goal is to help them develop confidence, wisdom, and responsibility so they can eventually guide themselves and support others. Great leaders multiply leadership by helping others become capable. Your words also shape the emotional atmosphere around you. Conversations filled with hope, gratitude, responsibility, and practical solutions encourage progress. Constant negativity weakens motivation because it trains people to focus only on problems. This does not mean pretending difficulties do not exist. It means facing reality while directing attention toward constructive action. During uncertain times, people naturally look for stability. A calm voice reminding others to remain thoughtful and disciplined often becomes a source of strength. Leadership is especially valuable during challenges because people remember those who helped them remain focused when circumstances became difficult. Another important habit is recognizing opportunities to express belief in others before they fully believe in themselves. Many successful individuals recall someone who recognized their potential during a period of uncertainty. That encouragement became a turning point because it gave them the confidence to continue working toward their goals. Never underestimate the lasting influence of sincere belief expressed at the right moment. Forgiveness also belongs within courageous leadership. People make mistakes, they fail, disappoint, and sometimes lose direction. While accountability remains necessary, leaving room for growth demonstrates wisdom. A person who is given the opportunity to learn from failure often becomes stronger than someone who has never experienced difficulty. Leadership seeks restoration whenever possible, rather than permanent condemnation. Develop the habit of speaking about principles instead of personalities. Encourage honesty instead of praising appearances. Value responsibility more than popularity. Celebrate discipline more than temporary success. These priorities help others build lasting character instead of chasing short-lived recognition. There will also be moments when leadership requires quiet support rather than public speeches. Sitting beside someone during a difficult season, offering practical help without expecting praise, or simply reminding them they are not facing challenges alone, can become powerful expressions of care. Leadership is often remembered through simple acts of steady presence. As your influence grows, guard against pride. Influence is a responsibility, not a reward. Every conversation should remind you that words carry consequences. They can heal or discourage, unite or divide, inspire action or create fear. Choosing them carefully honors both the opportunity and the people who trust your guidance. Continue examining your own character before attempting to shape the character of others. Personal discipline strengthens public influence. Daily honesty strengthens public credibility. Private integrity supports public leadership. The person you become when no one is watching ultimately determines the value of the guidance you offer. Communication rooted in courage and care creates something far greater than temporary inspiration. It creates lasting transformation because it helps people discover strength they did not know they possessed. It encourages responsibility instead of dependence. It replaces fear with confidence, grounded in preparation and character. It reminds others that meaningful growth remains possible regardless of present circumstances. As this journey through powerful communication comes to its conclusion, remember that every principle becomes valuable only when it is practiced consistently. Trust grows through genuine attention. Clarity grows through honest intention. Confidence grows through steady discipline. Respect grows through thoughtful questions. Understanding grows through emotional awareness. Purpose strengthens every message. Patience protects relationships during disagreement. Reflection deepens communication through wise silence. Daily habits shape lasting excellence. Courage and care transform ordinary conversations into opportunities for leadership. Your voice is more than a tool for sharing information. It is one of the clearest expressions of your character. Every sentence reveals what you value, how you think, and how you choose to treat other people. Use that gift with wisdom. Speak when your words can guide, encourage, teach, protect, or strengthen. Remain silent when reflection creates greater value than immediate reaction. Continue learning with humility, serving with sincerity, and leading through consistent example. The world does not simply need more people who speak. It needs more people whose words carry integrity, compassion, responsibility, and quiet strength. Become one of those people. Let every conversation reflect the person you are becoming. Allow your communication to build trust, restore confidence, inspire action, and create lasting positive change wherever life gives you the opportunity to be heard. Over time, your greatest legacy will not be the number of conversations you had, but the number of lives that became stronger because you chose to speak with courage, wisdom, and genuine care.